Welcome to Untitled Homestead. This is Ray, and I'd like to bring you a project that I did on a homestead in East Alabama. This is a cedar log staircase, all custom made from top to bottom. All of the stringers are logs, and the treads are logs, right straight up through. We're all done with the rough framing, the rough plumbing, the electrical, the HVAC, and all the mechanicals are in. And we're going to get started on the 1x6 tongue and groove. I'm going to start the stairwell. Now this is going to be a stair that goes down to a platform and then turn and go down 180 degrees and go down into the basement, which is a walkout basement onto a patio. And this will be the TV room, playroom. We start with a platform that will be 78 inches long and 38 inches wide. These logs were just made for this platform, and they are 14 inches wide at the widest point. And I'm going to roll these upside down, build this platform upside down outside, and I'm going to slide them together, and I'm going to run a chainsaw kerf between each one of these logs to tighten up the joint on them. And then I'll go ahead and cut out a notch on the back, 2 notches on the back of this platform. And these notches will be sized down to 5 inches thick. And then once that's done, I'll go ahead and start the rails. And the rails that you see sitting on top of the platform, they'll be sized down to 7 inches thick. And these rails will be for the underside of this platform to secure to and be held together, so there's no rocking in the platform on the top. The platform was moved from the outside to start the assembling in the inside of the stair hole. It was set on 4 58-inch long legs. Each rail was leveled in. We drilled holes, countersunk them, and lagged these rails down to the post permanently. And then we'll start on the first log for the platform. The 3-piece top was put in and also leveled. The platform has to be leveled by code. They'll let you get away with maybe 1/8 of an inch overall, but it really needs to be as level as possible. These 3 pieces will be countersunk also from the top and permanently lagged in from the top and plugged later. And it will also be secured to the wall from the other side, and the post to the left to be secured just to keep this platform rigid. Now it's time for the long post, which will be for the handrails and the guardrails when we get started. The post in the center of the platform has to be in and secured first. We'll take it out later on, and I'll tell you why later. But for now, it has to be put in and plumbed level. And this is where it's going to line up with our stringers when they come down. The first stringer is going in. I've got this one just set there. I'll go ahead and cut it and to make a notch so it'll notch over the platform. It can't be just cut and set in. It's got to be notched. Too much live edge on the cedar to make just a simple notch. It's got to be scribed and let down into the cedar to make this notch that'll hold that stringer up. There is blocking in the wall behind the top of these stringers, and the lags will be put through that blocking at the top of these stringers to hold them. We'll try to hide as many lags as we can, but we just can't do it to all of it, so we're going to leave them exposed. We'll countersink and plug the holes later on. I've done all the layouts for the stairs on a 1x12 stringer, and it's just sitting out of view where you can't see it, but I use that to project my lines across the log stringers, and my steps will go in there. And I'll lower my steps, notch and scribe my steps, and lower them down to that laser line. And also I'll measure from the wall the distance that these steps have to be out in order to make the right step width. I'm scribing and notching the cedar steps rather than the stringer. Some will notch a stringer, but I do the steps. These stringers aren't very big, so they need to be full. And these stairs are going to be pretty heavy. So these logs need to stay full thickness all the way around. It's a big notch in the step, but the steps are hard. The cedar's a hard wood, and it'll take that notch and without a problem. You can see looking in from the side, I think it looks better to have the steps notched and not the log notch in this instance. The cedar steps have a lot of ununiformity to them with the live edge, so it's really hard to get a good clean notch in the stringers. Plus, you'd be cutting out a lot of stringer at any given time, and we just don't want to weaken them like that for this set of stairs. The first 7 are in, and now I'll reset the stringers, the 1x12 stringers downstairs, so I can run my laser across the top of those and also set these steps in. You can see the right side of this picture, the second stringer that I made. It's 1 by 12, like I say, and it's all cut out. And I use this for the pattern to lay each one of these stairs in. I just want to show you just how much scribing and cutting is involved per step. These steps have to be fit as tight as possible. We don't want them to we don't want them to squeak. We don't want them to move. We don't want anything to go wrong with them. So the scribes are pretty tight, and being a round log makes it easier to scribe than it would be scribing the stringer. You see me starting from the top again. The center long post has been removed for now until the steps are scribed. And once I have the steps scribed, I'll go ahead and put that post back in and then scribe the post to the steps. It's just nearly impossible to scribe the steps into the stringer and to that post. But I needed that post up to get the top set of treads scribed in. The last difficult stage is the bottom 2 steps. The post on the left is the carrying timber, and that can't be moved or taken out. So I've got to do all my work in a very close area. So I had to scribe the steps to the stringer and the post at the same time. The stairs are all fit together temporarily, screwed in with long deck screws. The reason I start at the top and work down is because you really can't walk on these stairs because of the screws that we're using. They're not that secure. This is a view from the top. You can also see a space against the wall. We leave a space so the dust or anything will not hang up in there, or anything falls from up above. It doesn't get hung up between the wall and the steps. It just kind of looks unsightly. So I leave a little space, about 1/2 inch against the wall, between the wall and the step platform. There's a space there now. That platform is also secured. We are now going to remove all the steps, mark them. We're going to take them outside. They're kind of rough off the sawmill, so we're going to need to take them outside and take some of the sawmill cuts out of them. We won't bring them completely smooth, but we'll start off with a 6-inch grinder with a wood sanding pad on it, and we'll move down to a sander with about an 80 grit paper on it, and we'll clean these up, and we'll get them looking a pretty bright red, and we want to keep that bright red. This is Shannon, the homeowner. After grinding them down outside, we brought them back in for a light sanding on the edges, just to chamfer the edges over, and then we returned them back outside. Outside finishing the stairs are the ladies, Shannon's wife, Stacy, the homeowner, on the left, and my wife, Bonnie, on the right. They had to seal them rather quickly because they don't stay bright red very long. They were sealed on all sides with a semi-gloss stair sealer that was thinned down for maximum penetration. And we want to try to make this stuff penetrate as far into these logs as we could. They will set overnight and be reinstalled permanently in the next couple days. All the steps are back in except the last 2. I want to show you just how different the live edges are. You do have to play with them a little bit to get them to line up. You put the most jagged edge toward the back of the stairs and the straightest edge toward the front of the stairs. You don't want to have too much sticking out when you're walking down and take a chance on bumping your foot on it and tripping or stumbling going up. So you want the face of them to look pretty square. The steps are all finished, and the men got the floor down, and we're ready for the guardrails, the handrails, and the newel posts. We'll start with the newel posts at the top. They're all half-lapped over the floors by 10 inches and countersunk and lagged in. The guardrails at the top are 42 inches high. That's going to be the height of all the guardrails. The handrails are going to be 34 inches high, and that'll be going down the stairs and around. There's also will be a max of 4 inches at the bottom spacing between the floor to the bottom of that rail, and also be a 4-inch max between each spindle. I will set my laser up at 42 inches around this project. You can see the laser that's set up there, and that's going to be the height of all my rails. Because all the rails are different thicknesses, because they're all different little cedar saplings, each one has to be measured separately and independently. The bottom rail will sit on a 4-inch block, and the top is at 42 inches. The rails are cut 3 inches longer than the distance between the posts to allow 1.5 inches cut-in tenon on the rails. The spindles are cut 2 inches longer than the distance between the top and bottom rail. Once the rails are matched, we'll put a tenon on each end and lay out for the spindles a maximum 4 inches. Some will be 3.5, 3 3/4, but the max we can go is 4 inches. I moved them to a sawhorse. I put a screw in the rail to hold it down so I could work on it, and then I drilled out the mortises matching top and bottom on the rails. Then I drove the spindles into the rails and secured them with a finish nail, strapped them together, and moved them into place for the install. Once I'm sure of the fit, I will loosen up one newel post, move it slightly to one side, secure the handrails in, and then move the newel post back and tighten it back up. I stand the rails up against the post first, and I cut the mortise into the post, and then I remove the newel post and reset the handrails in, and then put the newel post back, securing it with a nail. Once all the rails are in, I will cut the posts off at a desired height. These are going to be 48, 49 inches. I'll round over the top and smooth them out. One note, the saplings that are used have a lot of small branches, so we had a tree pruning shears to trim them and to sand them smooth also. The guardrails are done at the top, and now we're going to move down and do the steps and the handrails. I laid these out the same way, only I drilled them in place and loosened up the post, pulled the top rail off, installed the spindles, and reassembled the top rail. It was easier to drill these using a level on my drill straight down on this angle than it was to take them over on the sawhorses and drill them on that 30 degrees or whatever that angle was. The last thing before finishing is to retighten any of the lags that needed to be tightened, retightened, which weren't many, and plug all the holes. The bottom handrail on the right side had to go in around the upper handrail in order to connect to the same post. The stairs will have to be lightly sanded and final finish coat of varathane semi-gloss applied. The rails will be done in a satin finish like all the walls. The finish coats are on. We left the stairs a little rough and gave them a little character. And you can see the handrail that I picked out that's got a curve to it to go around the upper rail coming down. We used different colored cedar plugs for the plugs. It gave it character. We didn't want to try to match it. I didn't think we could do that anyways. The cedar is just different colors all the way around. So we used different color cedar plugs on all the stairs. This is a view from the TV room in the walkout basement. And you can see the carrying timber, the cedar carrying timber, the posts that carry it across the ceiling. And this is carrying all the floor joists above, 2 by 12, 17 feet long. Looking up through the guardrails to the first floor, you can get a little bit of perspective on all the handrails and guardrails that it took to go in here. And also you can get a quick glimpse of the trusses that were built, the log trusses, and the fireplace that was put in. Another view with the walls finished with the satin poly on the stairs and the carrying timber. The carrying timber that was also made of cedar with a semi-gloss like the steps. Thank you for watching this channel, Untitled Homestead. Goodbye for now. I hope you subscribe and leave a comment below if you'd like.